What do record label A&Rs look for when they're scouting for artists? Hey everybody, Ben with Sound Ballistics checking in. So there are kind of two categories of scouting, or I categorize it that way anyway. There's music-based scouting and there's virality-based scouting. Virality-based scouting is where the viral metrics are in the forefront, and music-based is where the music is in the forefront. That doesn't mean music doesn't matter when it comes to virality-based scouting, or vice versa. That's just the initial first metric that you apply when you're scouting. Major labels in a lot of cases these days are going by virality case scouting. Not solely, but a lot of them are. They have people that just solely scour the social media platforms to see what's shooting up to 1 million views or more. I don't know exactly what metrics they use. And then based on that, they will sort of investigate further, right? Then there's music-based scouting. That's what I do because that's the most important thing to me. Which is based on the music. Does the music have an appeal? Is the music marketable? You know, do I feel like, does it strike a chord with me? Do I feel like it evokes emotion? And I could see that it has a bigger appeal to a broader crowd, you know. So anyway, that being put aside, you know, some of the most common metrics, you know, and I can really only speak for myself, but I know a lot of A&Rs that I work with that work for other labels. So I feel like I have a pretty good insight in this. So one of the most common metrics is social media, right? One of them is the follower count. That's important. But the other one is also the engagement, right? You can have 1,000 followers and have great engagement, have tons of people in your comments where it's very clear that, you know, your fan base is very engaged and is supportive, right? Or you can have 100,000 followers and not get much engagement at all, you know, which isn't that great. You know, it's better the other way around as far as I'm concerned. The next thing is streaming numbers, right? And monthly listeners. You know, those are two things that are just kind of somewhat of a landmark where you kind of get an idea. You know, okay, does somebody have some listeners who are consistently consuming the music, and you know, are the streaming numbers at good levels? The other thing is live shows. Are you playing regular live shows? Are you maybe even opening touring slots with bigger acts? You know, or you know, and you know, what's the attendance? You know, are you drawing people to those shows? And then the next thing would be, are there some verified sales, you know, in terms of what type of income is this artist generating? And because from that, you can kind of, a lot of times, you know, draw your conclusions, whether it's scalable, right? Now, one thing that's important to consider, I guess, unless it's virality-based scouting, but if it's music-based scouting, you should know that most of the time, by the time an A&R approaches you, they've been watching you for a while. You know, they've already been in your social media. They've already looked at they may even follow you from a scouting account they set up under some BS name or something like that. And it'll you know, they already know what your follower count is. They already know, does it tick up regularly but consistently? They already know what your engagement is like. At that point, they've already figured out, you know, are you using any kind of fake services that just pump up your follower accounts? And the same goes for streaming platforms. They've already listened to all your songs. If they got past the first one or two and they liked them, you know, they know if you've been pumping your streams or not, right? Because they've been looking at it for a while and they've seen whether the monthly listener count fluctuates, like shoots way up if you're running a playlist campaign or something, and then drops way down, you know, once the campaign ends, or if it's more like organic, consistent growth. So they have a pretty good idea about that. You know, the one thing they need input from you on is as far as verifiable sales. You know, most of the time they will also know, you know, what kind of a draw, or roughly have an idea what kind of a draw to a show you have. So, you know, this is how these guys make a living, and their standing with whoever they're working for depends on the quality of the work they put in that regard. So, you know, they're pretty good at figuring these things out. So by the time they approach you, this is the whole point, they know more about you than you think. So it's crucial really at that point, if they do approach you. In most cases, if they've been doing it for a while and they're serious about what they do, they kind of already know they're somewhat serious, right? They want to talk to you. They want to get a feel for where your head's at, what you're trying to do. Are you committed, you know what I mean, to really making a career out of it if you haven't already, and those types of things, you know. So, you know, take those things into consideration. If that is something you're trying to work towards, you know, a lot of artists just want to stay independent these days, and that's totally fine. But at the same time, you should consider these things that these guys look for, right? The reason they look at these things is because they're trying to understand if there is financial viability. And if it's not quite there yet, if it's something that can be built upon to create financial viability. So whether you're trying to stay independent or you would want to get signed with a label potentially, you should still have an eye on these metrics, right? Because, you know, they have a direct link to your financial viability as an artist, even if you're independent. That's all I got for now. If you have any questions or need help with anything, feel free to hit me up. See you next time.